Rylan Cale had always been drawn to the stars, not for their beauty, though he admired that too, but for what lay between them, the silent emptiness that humans could fill with invention. As a mechanic, his mind worked in patterns and problems. Broken machines, rusted ships, old circuits, these were puzzles, and Rylan thrived on puzzles. Most of the galaxy had long given up on this abandoned sector. It was a place where derelict ships drifted like tombstones, and rumors said the area was cursed. But Rylan wasn't most of the galaxy. The ship had appeared on his scanner like a shadow in the void. A colossal vessel, larger than anything he had ever worked on. Its hull was scarred, pocked with craters, and partially burnt in streaks of black and blue. The ship had no registry, no flag, no history in any galactic database. Every species that had come near it had left, calling it unrepairable, cursed, or dangerous. It floated in silence, forgotten by time. But to Rylan it was a challenge, and humans loved challenges. Docking his small shuttle at the ship's decaying bay was tricky. The magnetic clamps shuddered under layers of rust and broken locks, groaning like old bones as they latched on. Rylan grinned. "Piece of cake," he muttered, even as sparks flew from a misaligned console. Every movement of his hands carried the precision of someone who had rebuilt more than half the fleet in his home colony. The airlock hissed, releasing a cloud of stale gas. The smell of burnt circuits and something older, almost metallic, almost alive, filled Ryland's senses. He stepped inside cautiously, his boots echoing against the vast, empty corridors. The ship was enormous. Its ceiling stretched high above, fading into shadows where the lights had long since died. Broken panels hung like fallen leaves, wires dangled like vines, and dust covered every surface. Despite the decay, there was a strange symmetry to the ship. Its design was unlike anything Rylan had seen. Not human, not alien, something in between. Every system seemed to have a purpose, even if it was hidden beneath layers of age. He touched the walls, feeling faint vibrations under his fingertips. It was almost alive. "Hello," Rylan's voice echoed, swallowed by the silence. "Anyone home?" Nothing answered. And yet something stirred. As he wandered deeper into the corridors, he found the ship's bridge. It was a cathedral of technology, with screens long dead and consoles corroded, but Rylan could see the potential. He ran his hands over the controls, noting alien symbols and wiring patterns that defied standard galactic designs. He paused at a central console. A layer of grime hid its interface, but when he wiped it clean, tiny lights flickered faintly, as if the ship had been waiting. Ryland's eyes widened. This wasn't just a derelict, it was a sleeping giant. He worked through the night, checking power nodes, stabilizing failing circuits, reconnecting broken lines. Hours passed, and outside the stars moved in silent rotation. Inside, Ryland felt something he hadn't felt in years: connection. The ship responded subtly to his touch, systems twitching like a heartbeat beneath its skin. Then came the first sign that this ship was not like others. A low hum vibrated through the floor, rising steadily. Ryland froze, eyes scanning the bridge. Screens flickered, showing cryptic symbols. A panel slid open, revealing an interface that seemed almost alive. The ship's AI, or what was left of it, was awakening. Ryland smiled. Finally. He crouched over the console, careful not to damage anything. Slowly, almost hesitantly, the interface spoke, not in words but in patterns of light and movement. Then, a voice, weak and crackling, emerged through a broken speaker. "Identify self," Rylan laughed softly. "Rylan Cale, human, mechanic, problem solver." The voice paused, almost as if considering the words. Then a spark of energy surged through the ship and the hum became steadier, stronger. The AI was alive. For the first time in centuries, the abandoned ship had someone it could trust. But the galaxy would not wait to see what Rylan could do. News of a human boarding the derelict spread quickly through nearby colonies and trading posts. Messages arrived from alien authorities, warning him of the impossible dangers inside, from rogue systems to ancient defense mechanisms that could kill. Rylan read each warning with a smirk. "You try to fix it," he muttered. "Go ahead. See how far you get." He spent days exploring the ship, taking notes, cataloging systems, and repairing what he could. Every corridor held secrets. Some rooms contained dormant drones, small servitors designed for unknown tasks, while others held chambers with strange, glowing materials that pulsed faintly with energy. Rylan touched them with care, fascinated. He discovered the propulsion system was not just old technology, it was advanced in ways humans had not yet seen. The engines seemed designed for speed, but with a clever understanding of quantum flux. The ship was a marvel buried beneath decades of neglect. And yet, it would not be easy. Alien sabotage remnants, failing containment fields, and broken AI subroutines threatened every repair. Ryland spent sleepless nights recalibrating systems, rewiring conduits, and creating temporary solutions. Every failure was a lesson. Every minor success brought a thrill. During one particularly long night, Ryland found himself in the ship's engineering bay, staring at a massive core that pulsed faintly. Sparks flew from a broken containment unit, lighting up the room in bursts of blue and orange. He adjusted the flow regulators, whispered encouragements as if talking to a living being, and slowly the core began to stabilize. The ship sighed, a deep, resonant vibration that echoed through its corridors. It was alive and it acknowledged him. Rylan leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. Outside, the stars continued their silent dance. Inside, a human mechanic and an abandoned ship had begun the first steps of a partnership that could change the galaxy. He looked around the bridge and spoke aloud. "They all said you were worthless, that nothing could fix you, but I see the truth. You're just waiting for the right mind to awaken you." The AI pulsed again, almost like a heartbeat, and lights flickered across the consoles in patterns that seemed to echo agreement. For the first time in centuries, the abandoned ship had hope, and humanity had a new legend in the making. The abandoned ship had awakened, slowly but unmistakably. Its hum filled the vast corridors, vibrating faintly under Rylan Cale's boots as he walked from room to room, inspecting every system. The AI responded to his presence, flickering lights and moving servitors in subtle patterns that almost seemed like gestures of acknowledgement. It was no longer just a broken vessel drifting through space. It was a puzzle, alive in its own quiet way, and Rylan was determined to solve it. But the galaxy had eyes everywhere. News of a human working on a derelict ship spread quickly through nearby star systems. Alien traders, patrol fleets, and curious explorers began to linger near the sector, some observing from a distance, others sending cautious messages. Almost every species that had previously rejected the ship came back with warnings. "Humans are reckless," said one alien diplomat from the Xyrath coalition. "That ship is not meant to move. It will fail, and the human will die." Another, from the Vorton Syndicate, added, "You cannot repair what is older than the oldest star charts. Its systems are alien, dangerous, and unstable." Rylan read each message with a wry smile. "They never learn," he muttered to himself, turning back to the ship's console. Humans thrived where others hesitated. That was what made them unique. Inside the ship, challenges awaited at every turn. The propulsion system was a marvel of forgotten engineering, unlike anything in the known galaxy. Its engines were built to harness quantum flux, bending spacetime in ways that even Rylan had only studied theoretically. The wiring, corroded and mismatched, required delicate adjustments. One wrong move could overload the system, and one careless spark could ignite the remnants of fuel in the containment units. Ryland spent hours tracing circuits, testing each connection. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but his hands moved with precision, rewiring old conduits and improvising where alien components defied standard logic. He laughed quietly at times, talking to the ship as if it could understand his humor. "See, I told you humans don't quit." The AI pulsed in response, lights flickering across the bridge like a heartbeat. Ryland sensed that it was testing him as much as he was testing it. Repairing the weapon systems was even more complicated. Alien species had designed them with failsafes that were nearly impossible to override. Automated defenses, dormant drones, and targeting arrays were all built to reject human interference. But humans had something others lacked: creativity. Rylan improvised. He adapted alien circuitry to his own tools, combining logic modules with human programming techniques. Slowly, the weapons began to respond. First, minor systems activated. Targeting sensors blinked, and drones aligned along the corridors as if awaiting orders. Then the larger systems powered up, humming softly as though coming alive under his touch. Outside, curious alien fleets began to gather, trying to watch Ryland's progress without making direct contact. Some wanted to intervene, others merely observed. They were puzzled. Why would a human waste time on what they all considered useless? Ryland was aware of their attention but ignored it. Focus was key. Any distraction could be fatal. He moved through the ship like a conductor, guiding systems, stabilizing cores and synchronizing power flows. Hours felt like minutes, and the night outside stretched endlessly. Yet even humans had limits. A sudden power surge rattled the ship. Sparks flew from the walls, and a containment field around the main energy core failed partially, releasing a burst of static energy that knocked Rylan off his feet. He lay on the floor, breathing hard, ears ringing from the discharge. His mind raced. This was what made the ship so dangerous, yet so magnificent. "No risk, no reward," he muttered, pulling himself up. With steady hands, he rerouted power from auxiliary circuits, stabilizing the core before it could do any permanent damage. The AI pulsed stronger now, almost like approval. Ryland began to understand the ship's personality. It was not just a machine, it was intelligent, reactive, and capable of learning. Every time he repaired a system, the ship adapted, rerouting energy, optimizing subsystems, and even predicting potential failures. It was as if it had been waiting centuries for someone who could understand it. The propulsion system required the most attention. The alien engines were designed for speed, agility, and deep space endurance, but the systems were incomplete, damaged in ways no one had attempted to fix. Rylan had to improvise entirely new conduits, adapting human designs to alien machinery. He spent sleepless nights recalibrating the flux drives, running simulations in the ship's mainframe, and testing every sequence. One morning, after hours of work, the ship responded. A low vibration ran through the hull, and the engines hummed with controlled power. The vessel shifted slightly as if flexing its muscles. Ryland's eyes gleamed with excitement. "You're waking up," he whispered. "We're going to be unstoppable." But there were setbacks. Some systems resisted repair entirely. Life support chambers were corroded, sensors were misaligned, and communication arrays refused to cooperate. Rylan improvised constantly, combining alien tech with human ingenuity. He created makeshift modules from scrap, adapted servitors for repair tasks, and even rewired sections to bypass damaged circuits. Each day was a battle, and each small victory brought immense satisfaction. The alien observers began to notice. Reports came in of humans attempting the impossible. Some species scoffed, calling it foolish. Others grew curious. A few even began to reconsider their judgments. Humanity, after all, had a history of thriving where others feared to tread. Ryland didn't seek recognition. He sought mastery over the ship, and slowly he was achieving it. During one particularly tense moment, a hidden security protocol activated. Turrets inside the ship powered up, firing warning beams at him. Alien defense drones, still dormant, activated and began patrolling corridors. Rylan ducked and rolled, moving quickly, thinking like a human in a machine built to reject humans. He bypassed security nodes, rewired control systems, and finally managed to deactivate the defenses. He paused, breathing heavily, staring at the blinking consoles. "Not bad for a human," he said with a grin. The ship seemed to respond, lights pulsing rhythmically, almost like laughter. By now, the vessel's AI was learning from him. It began anticipating his repairs, rerouting energy where needed, and even predicting potential hazards. Together, Rylan and the ship formed a team, human intuition paired with alien engineering, creating a synergy no other species could replicate. Days turned into weeks. The ship was no longer a corpse in space. It was alive, responsive, and gradually more powerful. Rylan had unlocked sections that no alien had ever dared to touch. He explored vast hangars filled with hidden technologies, chambers containing mysterious energy sources, and corridors that twisted in ways that defied normal geometry. Each discovery brought both awe and danger. Then came the first external threat. A Vorton scouting fleet appeared on the edge of the sector. They had heard rumors of a human aboard the derelict and decided to investigate directly. Their ships hovered near the asteroid belt, scanning, preparing for potential confrontation. Rylan noticed the sensors picking up external movement. "Visitors," he muttered, wiping grime from his forehead. He moved quickly, initiating defensive measures. The ship responded instinctively, aligning drones and activating shielding systems he had only partially repaired. It was ready, or at least as ready as it could be under his guidance. The Vortons sent a communication. "Leave the ship, human. It is forbidden territory. It will destroy you." Rylan laughed softly. "You tried and failed. Watch this." He didn't attack. He didn't even move the ship yet. But the AI pulsed, preparing systems, testing energy flows, and analyzing the alien fleet's movements. It was learning, adapting, becoming stronger with every passing second. Rylan knew that the galaxy had underestimated humanity once again. Every species relied on protocol, on rules, on fear of the unknown. Humans relied on creativity, daring, and the courage to face impossible odds. And right now, he was proving that principle. The first challenge was complete. He had stabilized the ship, activated partial systems, and begun the transformation from abandoned wreck to something far greater. The galaxy might laugh, warn, and scoff, but Rylan Kale and his ship were only beginning their journey. Above all, he knew one thing with certainty. The galaxy had never seen a human mechanic like him, and it would never be the same again. The abandoned ship no longer felt like just a vessel to Rylan Kale. It had become a living puzzle, one that responded to him, anticipated his moves, and even seemed to communicate through subtle pulses of energy and light. Every day spent inside its corridors brought new discoveries, hidden systems, dormant drones, and chambers containing alien technologies that had been untouched for centuries. Rylan's hands moved quickly over the consoles, rewiring circuits and rerouting power. Sparks flew occasionally, and small alarms blinked across the panels, but he worked with calm precision. Each adjustment brought the ship closer to its full potential. Yet, even with all his skill, he knew the true test would come when the galaxy tried to stop him. And the galaxy was already watching. The Vorton fleet, a dozen heavily armed warships, had been shadowing the sector for days. Their sensors scanned relentlessly, trying to find a weakness. Their leaders assumed the human aboard the abandoned ship would fail. After all, what could one human possibly do against centuries of alien technology built by the galaxy's greatest engineers? Rylan ignored them. His focus was the ship. It hummed beneath him, alive and responsive, as if it understood the importance of the moment. He had completed partial repairs on the propulsion and weapons systems, but the true power of the vessel lay in areas still dormant. The AI had begun to cooperate, anticipating his moves, rerouting energy, and even optimizing repairs before he made them. Together, they were forming a team no alien species could anticipate. Then came the first test. Sensors detected small drones approaching from the asteroid belt. The Vortons were probing, testing defenses. Rylan moved quickly, activating defensive arrays he had only partially repaired. The ship responded instinctively, deploying energy shields and redirecting power to critical nodes. The drones moved closer, their scanners sweeping the corridors, searching for weaknesses. Ryland smirked. "You're about to learn why humans never follow the rules." He pressed a series of buttons, rerouting power from non-essential systems to the ship's targeting and defensive arrays. Turrets aligned themselves, energy beams crackling to life. Yet he did not fire immediately. He wanted to observe, to test how the ship could react without direct commands. The AI pulsed in response. Energy flowed to the shields, sensors adjusted automatically, and the drones were tracked with precision. The vessel had begun learning, adapting, and predicting the movements of the enemy. It was no longer passive, it was a participant. When the drones launched their first attack, the ship responded with unpredictably human ingenuity. Energy fields pulsed outward, creating temporary barriers that redirected laser fire harmlessly into space. Turrets fired in patterns that seemed chaotic, but Rylan knew they were calculated. The drones collided with one another, malfunctioning under the unexpected pressure. Within minutes, the probe attack was neutralized, without the ship even leaving the asteroid belt. Rylan leaned back in his chair, eyes gleaming. They don't know what's coming. Weeks passed. Each day brought new challenges. The Vortons increased their presence, sending larger ships to investigate. Traders and explorers from other species watched from a distance, curious and cautious. Rumors began to spread. A human was taming an abandoned ship, making it something no one had ever seen before. Rylan continued repairs, moving through the ship's massive corridors. He discovered hidden energy cores, chambers designed for unknown functions, and a network of communication arrays capable of reaching across the galaxy. Slowly, the ship was awakening, revealing its true potential. One night, while inspecting the propulsion systems, Rylan made a breakthrough. The engines were designed to manipulate quantum flux, allowing near-instantaneous movement across vast distances. With careful recalibration and the ship's AI assisting, he activated the engines at minimal power. The ship shifted slightly and the hum of the core deepened. "It's working," Rylan whispered, a grin spreading across his face. "We're ready." But power alone was not enough. The ship's true strength lay in its adaptability. Rylan began integrating human innovations with alien systems. He rewired targeting arrays to predict enemy movements, modified energy flows to create dynamic shields, and programmed drones to operate semi-independently. The vessel was no longer just repaired, it was evolving. Then the Vortons acted. A squadron of 5 warships entered the sector, intending to disable or destroy the abandoned ship before it could become a threat. Their weapons systems were advanced, capable of cutting through most known shields. The human mechanic and his vessel were about to be tested under real combat conditions. Rylan remained calm. He activated the engines fully, the hum of quantum flux resonating through the ship. Drones deployed to key positions, energy shields flared to life, and the weapons systems aligned. The abandoned ship, once forgotten and rejected, now stood ready as a force no one expected. The Vortons fired first. Lasers streaked through the void, but the ship's adaptive shields responded instantly, bending the energy harmlessly around the hull. Turrets returned fire, not in predictable patterns but in angles and sequences that no alien crew could anticipate. Drones moved fluidly, intercepting incoming missiles and disabling enemy sensors. Rylan grinned as he maneuvered the ship, using its engines to twist and weave through the battlefield. The abandoned vessel was no longer a relic, it was a predator. The Vortons were caught off guard. Their experience and protocols, honed over centuries, were useless against the unpredictable, improvisational tactics of a human mechanic and a ship learning from him. Hours passed in tense combat. Rylan pushed the vessel to its limits, each maneuver calculated yet daring, each strike precise yet inventive. Slowly, the Vorton ships began to retreat, confused and battered. One by one, they fled, unable to comprehend the power and adaptability of the human-tamed ship. For the first time, Rylan allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. "Not bad for a human," he said, the ship pulsing in agreement. The AI, now fully awake, had learned from the attacks, optimizing systems and preparing for future threats. Together, they were unstoppable. The galaxy had underestimated humans once again. Every species relied on rules, on fear, on predictability. Humans relied on creativity, courage, and the willingness to take risks that others would never attempt. Rylan and the ship had proven that principle in combat, and the Vortons' retreat was proof. But Rylan knew the journey was far from over. The ship was powerful, but it had more secrets to reveal. Hidden chambers, dormant energy systems, and alien technologies still waited to be discovered. Each new system brought both danger and potential, and Rylan's ingenuity would be tested again and again. He walked through the bridge, inspecting consoles and reviewing damage reports. The ship responded instantly, rerouting power and repairing minor faults autonomously. It had become more than a vessel. It was a partner, a creation alive in its own right, capable of learning, adapting, and evolving. Rylan paused at the central console. "We're just getting started," he said. The stars outside the hull glimmered like a promise. "They don't know it yet, but the galaxy is about to see what humans can do." In the days that followed, Rylan continued to push the ship's limits. He activated previously dormant systems, explored hidden chambers, and began preparations for deeper exploration. Every day brought new discoveries, and every discovery revealed just how underestimated humans had been. The abandoned ship, once rejected and forgotten, had become a symbol, not just of human skill, but of human audacity. It was alive, evolving, and ready to show the galaxy that what others deemed impossible was simply waiting for the right mind to unlock it. And Rylan Kale, human mechanic and master of the forgotten, was that mind. The galaxy had begun to whisper about the abandoned ship. What had once been a drifting, forgotten relic was now alive, a vessel tamed by a single human mechanic named Rylan Kale. Rumors spread through distant star systems, some in awe, some in fear, and some in disbelief. No one had seen anything like it, but Rylan did not care about fame. He cared about the ship. It had become more than metal and circuits. It was a living, learning entity, responding to him with subtle energy pulses, lights, and vibrations. Together, they had survived their first combat test against the Vortons, proving that humans could take what others rejected and turn it into something beyond imagination. Yet, the true challenge had only begun. Across the sector, a coalition of alien fleets began to form. News of the human and his ship reached the ears of leaders and warlords alike. They underestimated humans at their peril. Each species brought fleets of advanced warships, capable of overwhelming conventional defenses. But Rylan Kale had not merely repaired a ship. He had transformed it into a masterpiece of human ingenuity and alien technology, learning, adapting, and evolving with every challenge. In the command center, Rylan studied the incoming fleet on holographic displays. He did not feel fear. Fear was a luxury for those who had never faced the impossible. Humans thrived on it. He ran his hands across the ship's controls, feeling the hum of energy coursing beneath him. The AI pulsed, as if sharing his excitement, every system now optimized and ready. "We've come a long way," he said quietly. Time to show them what humans can do. The alien fleets arrived in formation, expecting an easy victory. Their weapons were powerful, their tactics refined over centuries, and their fleets vast. Yet they had underestimated one crucial factor: unpredictability. Humans did not rely on protocol. They improvised, adapted, and dared to take risks that others could not imagine. The first strike came in the form of massive energy beams, aimed to disable the ship before it could act. But the vessel was ready. Shields flared to life, bending and dispersing the beams with precision. Drones moved fluidly, intercepting projectiles, disabling sensors, and creating illusions to confuse enemy targeting. Turrets fired in patterns the aliens could not predict, striking with deadly accuracy. Rylan maneuvered the ship with breathtaking precision, weaving through asteroid fields and enemy fire, each movement calculated yet daring. The ship responded instantly, rerouting energy, optimizing shields, and adapting weapon systems. It was alive, evolving with every moment, anticipating attacks before they arrived. The aliens fired again, this time in coordinated volleys, expecting the human and his ship to falter. But Rylan had learned from their patterns. He activated the hidden propulsion systems, surging forward in bursts of quantum speed that left streaks of energy in their wake. Turrets targeted enemy weak points, drones disabled weapons, and the ship seemed to dance through the chaos, untouchable and unstoppable. Fleet after fleet fell back in shock and confusion. Their centuries of experience and technology had been no match for human creativity and courage. Ryland smiled. They think rules win wars. We know it's ingenuity. As the battle raged, Ryland discovered even more of the ship's hidden capabilities. Chambers that had been dormant for centuries revealed new energy sources, weapon systems of unimaginable power, and navigational tools that could bend space and time for tactical advantage. With each discovery, the ship became stronger, faster, and more formidable. The AI, fully awakened, now operated semi-independently, anticipating threats and suggesting strategies. Drones acted with near-human intuition, creating barriers, intercepting attacks, and launching countermeasures. The abandoned ship had become the greatest vessel in the galaxy, not through brute force, but through adaptability, learning, and partnership with its human master. Rylan realized something incredible. The ship was not just a tool, it was a partner. It thought, learned, and evolved. And he could guide it, push it, and inspire it to achieve feats no alien civilization could imagine. Together, they had become a symbol of human ingenuity, proof that even the impossible could be mastered. As the battle reached its peak, Ryland decided it was time for a demonstration. He activated a series of previously hidden systems. Energy pulses shot across the hull, creating barriers and decoys that baffled enemy sensors. Hidden weapon arrays fired in perfect coordination, striking key points across multiple fleets simultaneously. The ship moved with speed and precision, striking, evading, and adapting in ways that seemed almost alive. The alien fleets began to retreat, unable to comprehend the vessel's power and unpredictability. The human mechanic had turned rejection into legend. Every species that had once dismissed the abandoned ship now looked upon it with awe, fear, and respect. Humanity had proven that even the galaxy's unwanted relics could become the greatest. Ryland stood on the bridge, watching the stars streak by as the ship moved effortlessly through space. "We did it," he said quietly, a sense of pride and triumph in his voice. "They don't understand us and they never will, but that's fine. We're human. We create, we adapt, and we rise above." The AI pulsed in agreement, lights flickering in patterns that felt almost like a smile. The ship had learned, grown, and transformed under Ryland's guidance. It was more than a machine. It was a legend, a living proof of humanity's ingenuity, courage, and audacity. Across the galaxy, civilizations took notice. Reports spread from one system to another, humans had turned the impossible into reality. A single human mechanic had tamed an abandoned, rejected ship and transformed it into the greatest vessel ever seen. The galaxy began to realize a truth they had long ignored. Humans were not to be underestimated. Rylan continued to explore the ship's hidden chambers, uncovering more systems, more potential. Every discovery reinforced the same lesson. Where others saw failure, humans saw opportunity. Where others hesitated, humans acted. And where others gave up, humans persevered. The abandoned ship, once forgotten, had become a symbol of hope, power, and human ingenuity. It was proof that no challenge was too great, no technology too alien, and no enemy too powerful for humanity to overcome. Rylan Kale had done more than repair a ship. He had awakened a legend. As the stars stretched endlessly beyond the hull, Rylan looked out, knowing that this was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen a glimpse of what humans could do, but there were greater challenges ahead. With the ship fully awakened, fully alive, and fully in human hands, the possibilities were endless. And one thing was certain. The galaxy would never forget the day a human mechanic turned rejection into greatness, proving once and for all that humanity's ingenuity was unmatched, unstoppable, and unforgettable. The abandoned ship, once discarded and ignored, now carried the mark of humanity. It was a monument to creativity, courage, and the refusal to accept limits. And Rylan Kale, the human who dared to dream where others feared, had become its master. As the vessel glided through space, leaving streaks of light across the stars, Rylan whispered, "We're just getting started. The galaxy isn't ready for us." And for the first time in centuries, the Abando,